What's going on, everyone? This is Blake at Firing Line Shooting again. It's been a while since I got to post any videos, so I'm super excited to be out here today. It is a beautiful blue sky day. The wind isn't too insane. The past several weeks have been super rainy, super windy, and it's been really hard to get any footage. So I've got a lot of good stuff for you guys to check out today. The first thing that we're going to be doing is doing a little comparison video. We're going to be talking about my new MPA DS9 Open. This is going to be the steel frame competition gun. We're also going to be kind of comparing that with the Staccato XC Classic. Everybody knows this gun, but it's a good way to see how big of a difference there is between those two things. And last but not least, we also have the Mac 9 DSD Open or DSD Comp gun. This is going to be the Staccato XC clone. It's not exactly a Staccato XC clone, and we'll talk about some of that here in a minute, but I wanted to show you what you're doing today. And the first thing we're going to start off doing is zeroing these guns. All right, so what we have today is the Mac 9 Staccato XC with the grip on there and the Masterpiece Arms steel frame gun. That is for open competition. It's going to be like a race gun. We're going to see how different ammunitions work in those. We're going to do a little bit of comparing between different kinds of ammunition. We have Blazer 115. Inside here we have Supervel 124, the 147 Jello shots, some P365 carry ammo, so it packs a little bit more punch to see if it maybe cycles in that Masterpiece Arms gun. And last but not least, we have some Black Dot Ammunition 9mm major ammo, and that's only going to be tested in the MPA. Sorry guys, you don't see my other guns blow up. So before we go ahead and shoot these guns, I did want to talk a little bit about the Mac 9 firearm. So this gun is clear. You can see that. There is a standard thumb safety on there. This grip is decently textured, but it's polymer. It's not super grippy, but it's also comfortable for carry. It does have a nice open mag well that fits a normal Staccato magazine or 2011 magazine fine. It does have a flat trigger shoe, but it's hard to tell if it's aluminum or plastic, honestly. There are a few extra shoes in the bag, so you can change these out. I think it's short, medium, and long. It does have a couple of different mag button choices. I think this is the extended release type one. It is a little bit stiff, so if you have small hands like me, you are going to have to break your grip a little bit to push that in because that spring is pretty stiff. On the optic, this isn't zeroed yet. We're about to do that, but I do have the Ronin 507 Comp optic. I have pretty open, big optics on these three guns, so I want to make sure we're doing a pretty even comparison. So we've got the Ronin Comp on two different guns and a Trijicon SRO on the Staccato XC. Now, a couple things I want to talk about, the differences between this and the Staccato XC. This is not truly a clone of the Staccato XC. Even though with the serrations and everything, it does look really similar. It does not have like a front sight block where the comp is on one piece that's not moving. That means when the slide is reciprocating, the whole entire thing is coming back. Safety was on there. So you don't have that piece that sticks up there at the front like the Staccato XC, as you can see there. So you have less reciprocating mass on this gun, on the Staccato XC, because part of it stays up here. So you don't have necessarily as much violent recoil in theory, but we're going to test that out today. So because of that, it's not truly an XC clone, but I get that it was made to look like a Staccato XC. One other thing that I think I noticed off the bat that seems to be kind of a downfall is it's so hard to pull back. If you look at the Staccato XC, this is just a regular Staccato XC. I actually have a heavier recoil spring in here. And notice with two fingers, this is easy. I could probably do it with my pinky, almost my pinky, maybe my middle finger. Super easy, even with the heavier recoil spring. With this Mac 9, I definitely can't do that with two fingers. And honestly, getting it to break at first is pretty challenging. So once you get past this break point, it kind of sticks back here, and then in the middle it's not too bad, but you definitely still feel some metal on metal contact. But getting it to break open requires some effort. Like if you're a female who doesn't really know, maybe you have weak hands, getting that thing back to start off with is not nearly as easy as Staccato XC. That's something to think about if you're somebody who struggles with getting that slide back. And on the Masterpiece arms, this gun appears to be a Masterpiece as they claim. This one does have a little charging handle, and that's pretty easy to do with just one finger. You can take this magazine out. Again, super easy to do with one finger. I don't think this is going to have any problems with being able to manipulate the slide. It definitely feels like the easiest slide out of the three, so we'll see how it goes. All right, you guys, so actually going into shooting now, the Staccato XC, the Trijicon SRO on that is already zeroed, but just for giggles, we're going to go ahead and check on that and see how our zero is. We're going to start on that small target on top of the guy's head. We're about 8 to 10 yards, and the little target up there is about 3 inches. Here we go. All right. We got probably about a 2-inch group on that 3-inch target. Pretty much where we expect to be, shooting casually and fast. First shots of the day. I also wanted to make sure that I got to feel the Staccato XC in hand before going to shoot my first shots on the Mac 9. So here goes the Mac 9. I'm trying to get my center point first. All right, looks like we're a little high in the left, so let me adjust this really quickly. That was a little bit me, I pulled that. All right, a little bit left still, I think. All right, now we're dead in there. Let's go ahead and confirm zero on our top left target. Pulled that one a little bit, I think. All right, that's right there on the red. I'm pulling this one a little bit because this is a like 5 to 6 pound trigger, and the Staccato XC has like a 2.5 pound trigger. So there's a little bit of difference. It takes me a little bit longer. Normally when that trigger would go off, there's a little bit more pull to it. So there is a little bit of a difference going from almost a competition trigger like on the Staccato XC to basically a duty or carry trigger on this Mac 9. Otherwise, it feels pretty good. It shoots soft. All right, you guys, with this Masterpiece DS9 Open Comp gun, this is clear. I've got 3 rounds here of the same thing I've been shooting, the Blazer 115 grain out of these 2 guns. This is a 9mm major gun, so I am fully expecting it not to cycle. So we'll see what happens. We'll go center mass on the target we were just shooting at. All right, so 2 shots cycled fine of the Blazer 115. The third one, we have almost a stovepipe. Basically, it tried to eject and just didn't make it out. So not quite enough powder in there, but I am curious to see how it works with some of these higher powered 9mm minor rounds, like the standard 9mm stuff. Feels good though. All right, just for fun, I'm gonna shoot on the steel, and I'm gonna switch to the Supervel 124 grain stuff. This is typically made for like competition shooters, I think, so it might not be enough powder in there, but let's go see if we can get all 3 rounds to go through on steel. All right, this gun doesn't lock back. I think it's supposed to be that way with the MBX mags, but 124 minor rounds were able to function through there, so that's great. All right, you guys, I still have not zeroed that Masterpiece Arms gun, but I am going to try some Jello shots in there now. These are made from Badlands Munitions. I know Hunter Constantine has used these for competition and things like that. These are definitely a competition load, but it has a heavier grain bullet, so I'm curious if it will still cycle this gun. I went ahead and loaded 10 rounds in this magazine of that Jello Shots ammo, and we'll see if we can cycle 10 rounds. Those 10 shots did go through perfectly fine, so I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to shoot any minor ammo through this Masterpiece Arms DS9 Open Comp gun that is chambered in 9mm major. A lot of people said, even the manufacturer said, that you can't shoot minor ammo through it. It won't cycle well. But it looks like it's working fine, so it could be something that you can still train with minor ammo that's a lot cheaper with the Masterpiece Arms gun and then go to your competitions with major ammo. That's a good option. All right, you guys, now I'm gonna go ahead and load this major ammo from Black Dot Munitions. Looks like it's got a nice size round there, or it's at least sticking out quite a bit. I've got 10 rounds with this one loaded in here, so we'll have 10 rounds of ammo to shoot this one. Since this is the major ammo, we're gonna go ahead and zero it with this ammo. I just need to try and figure out where I'm at on the target first, and we'll get this thing zeroed. So first I'm gonna go for just like the neck of this target to see where I'm at. All right, it looks like I'm just a tiny bit low. So I'm just gonna come up a little bit and we can make minor adjustments from there. Now I'm gonna go for the top right target on our easy to see targets there. Geez, that was still low, but man, I was not ready for that to go off. The Masterpiece Arms gun only has a 1.5 or a 1.75 pound trigger. So just when you start to feel like you're at the wall, it goes off. All right, you guys, so after confirming my zero here with this one shot, that's gonna be where the Mac 9 is. So that's a pretty decent zero. And then I did about 5 shots right here on the dot after I figured out where I was at. So I was trending a couple low down here first, and then my last few shots were all right here. I think it was 4 shots, maybe 5 with some right here on the bottom right. So either way, that's gonna be pretty good, enough for us to continue shooting with. And this was for the Masterpiece Arms DS9 Open, DS9 Comp, DS9 Open Comp. I've seen it different ways, but that's the name of this one. I felt like I was on the red with all of those, but I'm 1 left and 2 to the right, so not sure about that one. But let's go ahead and move to the DS9, Masterpiece Arms DS9 Open. On the red. On the red. And on the red. So obviously, and I'll walk you over there. Obviously, this group with the Masterpiece Arms is better than this group with the Mac 9. I wouldn't say that the barrel's not straight on this gun, but I'm sure that the 5 to 6 pound trigger makes a difference there versus the 1.5 to 1 3/4 pound trigger on the Masterpiece Arms. All right, you guys, y'all don't want to see me just sit here and shoot slow doing sight ends all day, so I went ahead and got my nice belt on with my new holster from Black Scorpion Gear. It's kind of like a little drop. It's got an offset place for the gun, and it hooks onto the trigger guard. This Black Scorpion Gear holster does have a little lock right here. Once you engage that, you can't get this gun off. So if you're ready to shoot, you'd be in the unlock position, ready to go. So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna see how long it takes to do a draw to fire first shot in the A zone. And then I'm also gonna do a 6-shot build drill in the A zone and see how that group looks and see how fast we can do it with the way the gun is set up. Again, I haven't shot the Mac 9 before, and I haven't shot this MPA before, except for just zeroing it. And I've never used this holster setup, so I might have some fumbling there, but we'll see. Fire 1 shot in the A zone. Here we go. Whew. That was not good. I pulled the trigger before I was ready there. The red was not where I needed it to be. So let's go ahead and slow that first shot down a little bit and try and get a good build drill here. Yeah, that was only 5 shots. These are my first fast shots of the day, guys. So those 5 shots were all in the A zone. That first one sucked. We'll go ahead and get a little bit warmed up on the next 2, and then we'll go through them all again. By the way, I was starting off with 115s on every gun. So this is a 115 Blazer right here, and that was out of the MPA. So those shots worked fine, it looks like. So I've gone ahead and loaded magazines for the Mac 9 and the Staccato XC. One thing I do want to point out that I really like on the Mac 9 is this slide release or slide lock, whatever you want to call this, slide stop. That actually is set nice and far back. It's almost up there where the thumb safety is, so you can easily just push that slide forward from your general hand position. On the Staccato XC, that is a little bit forward, so I can't reach it from here. I would have to kind of break my grip and go forward a little bit to drop the slide that way. So if you're somebody that likes to use that lever to drop the slide, that is a cool feature on the Mac 9, is that you can drop it pretty easily from that position. Anyways, back to shooting. Let's go ahead and do one shot, draw to fire, and then a bill drill on the IPSC target. One thing about the Mac 9, I've seen constant people saying in reviews that the screws either break or they get loose or something. I have the screws on there and Loctited. We'll see if it comes off during the course of fire at any point or it gets loose. Oh, that was 2 shots. Sorry, I forgot what I was doing. 2 A-zone shots. The time doesn't tell us anything there. Let me just load up another one. All right, now we've got 6 lined up and ready to go. That's bad. I think it's mostly me, but definitely having that harder trigger, maybe stumble a little bit. I had 1 shot just on the edge of the line on the left. My time was super slow at 3:57 for a bill drill, which is insane. For some reason, it seems like the gun is pointed up and I'm having to lower the gun down when I draw. And I'm pretty used to shooting with like the Staccato XC. So maybe the grip angle is a tiny bit different. I don't know. The grip angle looks pretty much the same. So maybe I'm just doing something wrong, still trying to get warmed up today. But let's try the same thing with the Staccato XC. This is the one I'm used to shooting, but it's also been a little bit since I came out. Okay, I rushed that one, went off to the left just a tiny bit. 1.33 is not great either, so let's go for the bill drill, and I'll try and make sure that we're on track to start off with. So with the Staccato XC, whenever I got this Vulcan grip put on, I found out that it's not super compatible with the mags. They lock, but they can drop down. I filed down this part of the magazine to try and make it work better, but it seems like this one's still not filed down enough because it just fell out during firing. So let me get these set up in my other magazine. Okay, now I've got 6 rounds loaded up again in the XC. Let's try this again. There we go. So that was a 2.07 bill drill, all clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing taped up and we will switch targets. Right now we're just gonna be doing some shooting. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back through those same drills. We're using a 124 Super Vel ammo now. And so we'll see how those things compare. I should be a little bit more warmed up now and we'll see how it goes. Again, we're doing 1 shot as a draw to fire first shot, and then we're gonna do a bill drill with each gun with the 124 grains. First up is the Mac 9, and I'm gonna try it with the Staccato magazine to make sure that it works. Draw to fire first shot. I slowed down too much because that was a 151. Now we'll go ahead and do the bill drill. All right, that was a little bit better. That was a 235, all clean bill drill. So we got the 1 shot and the 6 shots all inside there. With that trigger, I just made sure I was pulling really deliberately through there. And so we were able to get, I think it was like a 235. Decent time bill drill considering the heavy trigger. 1 shot. That was one clean shot and 118. 398. I suck. I pulled one way down. I'll be honest. All right, so I've got the 124 Super Vel loaded for my Masterpiece Arms gun. Let's try it out. Grabbing this gun is just a little bit different. I'm trying to figure out the thumb rest thing. I've never used that before. The gas pedal. The gun feels like nothing to shoot. It's just trying to get it out of this holster. It's all at a different angle. It's sitting away from my body. And then not only that, but having to try and get my grip where my thumb is like not hitting this, but it's hitting this. And I normally would grab, like, my thumb would be right here somewhere, but now I'm having to try and land it on that little pad. Definitely getting my grip, especially trying to plant my left hand, is I'm having to figure out where it fits in here. So it's going to take some practice trying to get that finger right in there where it needs to be. All right, so we are now on the 147 grain Jello shots. I've kind of decided that it's not really fair for me to kind of try and time the draw to first fire shots and everything, including the draw, because I don't have the same level of experience with the guns across the board. And they do feel a little bit different to grab each one of them. So I don't want to be unfair and biased in this comparison. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start each gun with 10 rounds and try to see from a low ready position how fast it takes to get through that magazine, so you can kind of see how the difference would be, and if we notice any big differences in like accuracy or anything weird while we're shooting the gun. So let's try the MPA out real fast. All right, 246 with a little bit of trigger freeze. All right, trying again from a low ready. All right, that was 250. 10 rounds of Jello shots with the Staccato XC. .238, a little bit faster because I'm used to this gun. I also had some trigger freeze because it was so much lighter. Pushing that trigger, going from gun to gun, is a little bit weird. So that time was 253, and I was literally just pulling the trigger as fast as I could, basically, with a 5 to 6 pound trigger. I think it's probably closer to 6. This one just felt hard to pull, and then it did feel like the recoil was hitting me harder too. It just overall felt like not as good of a gun. Granted, the Staccato XC and the MPA guns, they have steel grips on them. The Staccato's an aluminum frame with the steel grip. The DS9 Open gun is all steel. But I do think I was able to feel the difference with this one not having that like island barrel type comp. With the whole slide moving back and forth, it felt like it was rocking more for sure. And I'll have to look at the video to see if I can see that as well. But overall, the shooting experience just isn't on par with the Staccato XC. We'll try some carry ammo as well. We'll try the SIG P365 carry ammo, and we'll see how that one does in comparison. But already with the Jello shots, I can tell that the difference is noticeable between the Mac 9 and the Staccato XC. Granted, there's a $3,000 price difference. So is it a terrible thing that the difference is noticeable? Probably not. For sure, I would want to switch out the trigger or do some work on the trigger for a nicer pull. If that was taken down to like a 2.5 pound trigger like the Staccato XC, how much different would it feel then? It's kind of hard to say. Right now, it's not like anything terrible has happened. The optic is still tight at this point. It's only been 50 rounds or so, but I'll definitely shoot it some more. The slide just, man, every time I go to rack this slide, it takes some effort. I don't know if that's something that's gonna break in, but with the XC, you can just almost slap it back. With this one, it takes some force to push that thing back. I also notice a little bit of rubbing on this spot right here. If I can get this thing to focus, it's gonna be right in here, this little corner of the grip. Whenever my thumb's going back and forth, I can kind of feel that, but it's not like all the time while I'm shooting it's like that. It's only if I'm going like kind of back and forth from the safety and down. All right, so on the last round, I went from the highest quality gun to the lowest quality gun, and obviously it didn't feel good. So what I want to do now is go from the lowest quality gun to the highest quality gun and see how different that feels. First, starting off with 7 rounds of SIG 115 grain carry hollow points. Another bill drill, center of the brown target. All right, 7 shots and 1.95 from the low ready. I'm definitely feeling a little bit of irritation right there. Okay. 1.43, 6 shots from the low ready with the Staccato XC. That grip feels so much more comfortable. I don't know if it's just the weight of the trigger, but it's like it just goes faster. And I'm trying to pull the trigger on both at about the same speed. I think just the extra effort with the Mac 9 trigger, it makes it go slower, because I'm doing the Mac 9 what feels like fast, and then when I get the Staccato XC in my hands, it just like almost wants to run away from me. It's just going faster. Now I've got 6 rounds of that same stuff in the Masterpiece Arms DS9 Open, and we'll see how that one goes. 1.96 on those 6 shots. There's definitely something happening where I'm feeling like a little bit of trigger freeze almost in that gun, which is weird because for whatever reason, the Staccato XC trigger, even though it's heavier, it's all feeling much smoother. And for some reason with this one, it feels like it's getting hung up. I don't know if it's like the take up or if it's the reset amount. I'm definitely going to have to look at these 2 guns and see what's going on. The Mac 9, I have somebody who's interested in getting that one from me, so I don't know if I'll be able to continue practicing with that one as much. But the Staccato XC and the Masterpiece Arms gun, I definitely plan on keeping those in my arsenal. It could be the problem with like the ammo's not making the gun run as effective as it should. So let me do this again, and I'm just going to use the ammo that it's supposed to shoot, the 9mm major ammo. Maybe something's happening with the slide reciprocating that's throwing it off. So with the regular ammo, I had a 1.95 bill drill basically from a low ready. Now I've got the major ammo in there, and I'm going to see if this feels different to run. I definitely do feel more recoil in that gun. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that because it does have like way more compensation at the end of it than a standard, like a Staccato XC does. But obviously we're shooting a higher power round, so it definitely does feel like punchier. Like I feel a little bit more of that pop, 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 pop. Whereas the Staccato XC just feels like it's running smooth. It doesn't feel bad though. Like it definitely doesn't feel like shooting a 45 uncompensated. It might feel more like just shooting a 9mm with no compensator. So again, not anything crazy, but just something you feel more almost like slapping your hand every time. That little extra powder does give it a little bit more snappiness, I think, but there's all that compensation there, so it's not like it's beating you up. It's just different than the Staccato XC. I'm gonna do 10 more rounds through this gun to see if I can get a handle on that trigger freeze issue. I think I've actually got 15 rounds in here. I'm just gonna practice running the gun to see if I can figure out what's different. Maybe the gun doesn't push your finger off quite as much as the XC does. Ooh, that might be it. The Staccato XC with the Atlas trigger, whenever I work that reset, it really feels like it's pushing that trigger back. With the DS9, it's like there's nothing forcing it forward. It just kind of follows your finger. So that's interesting. I'm curious to watch the video and see how this looks in my hand. It definitely feels poppy, like it's kind of slapping around in there, but I don't know. I'm curious what kind of a difference it makes. If I had to compare how they all feel, the Mac 9 is definitely at the bottom. Then the Staccato XC probably feels the best. It just feels so smooth. I feel like it's absorbing all the recoil. And it's just going. I don't know, that's like, for some reason those are the words that are coming to me. It's just going almost by itself, like a sewing machine. It's just smooth. Now with the Masterpiece arms gun giving extra points in USPSA, you know, I can be slightly less sloppy, for lack of better words, and still make up some points with shooting major power factor. I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. So like, is it worth it to shoot a gun that doesn't feel quite as nice, or maybe I don't even shoot as fast right now to make up a few points? Or like, do I still continue shooting with the Staccato XC, or do I just shoot what I also started shooting was the Walther Q5 steel frame in just the limited optics? Because that one feels good too. And I'm definitely gonna have to spend more time with the Staccato XC and the MPA gun to see how I feel about them. But the Mac 9 is decent. One thing I hear is that it uses less MIM parts, and using less MIM parts is a fantastic thing. I don't remember if it said it uses no MIM parts. That's something to look at separately. TSOS is a pretty popular, pretty famous company for budget guns, and TSOS and Mac are pretty much one and the same. The gun actually says TSOS underneath it. But I would say it's not a bad gun so far. I haven't shot it a ton, so I haven't really had malfunctions. I haven't had the optic screws start loosening up or anything. After this video, I think I will be running it some more just to see if I encounter any of those things. But as of right now, the Mac 9 is somewhere at the bottom there, but still not bad. The Staccato XC is honestly just top tier for me, with the Vulcan grip and everything, the Atlas trigger. It's just top tier. And the MPA is running up there too. I wish I could get my hands on like an Atlas Chaos or something to compare it to see if there's like a big jump from the $4,000 price difference between the MPA and an Atlas Chaos or whatever. I might be exaggerating that number, but it's something like that. But right now, for like a race gun, I don't know if this gun would be on the top, but it's definitely comparable to the Staccato XC. And the fact that it's shooting major ammo and still feels pretty good to shoot, I think says something. But like I said, I'm going to keep the Staccato XC. I'm going to keep the MPA DS9 Open Comp gun, and I'm going to continue running those. And once I've shot them a lot more, I'll probably provide you guys a status update if that's something that you're interested in. But yeah, I need to shoot them more. That's the biggest thing to say.